So sometime last year, a follower asked a car advisor regarding crossovers. We were able to make a couple of recommendations, but she settled for a Mazda CX5 2.5 liter petrol. So today she has been generous enough to give us this car to make a review after 14 months in Kenya. So this is a review of this 2016 CX5 2.5 liter after 1 year and 2 months usage in Kenya. So if you are new around, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and following us on our social media platforms such that you don't miss any of our weekly video reviews. If you also want us to source a clean car for you, we can scout a clean car just like this under our car scouting program. So the Mazda CX5 is a very common car in Kenya. It has been one of the best selling crossovers in the last 5 years. Literally in Nairobi, if you throw a stone in traffic, it is likely to land on a CX5. That is how common these cars have become these days. 3 years ago, when I was making a review of the CX5 at that time, I said it was a leading in terms of the sales numbers, and it was a threesome that was involving the CX5, the Subaru Forester, and something like the Nissan X-Trail. The song still continues up to this 2025, when the new shape of the CX5 is still registering very good numbers. This is the first generation of the CX5 which made its debut in 2012. It went up to 2016. But for the 2015 and 2016 variations, they were given some facelift. That's why the 2015 and 16 ones look a little bit different from the earlier 2012 to 2014. They have a fresh headlamps here. The grille is different. Even the back side looks a little bit different. Of course, I've done reviews of the 2-liter petrol, the 2.2 turbo diesel, and even the 2018 variation. You can check that review on our YouTube channel. So when the client gave us the car scouting assignment, she was very particular on the features she wanted on the car. She wanted a car with leather seats. Of course, the seats had to be heated. She wanted a car with a good sound system, maybe Harman Kardon or a Bose sound system. Generally, she wanted something that looks good. So while the KF variation, the 2017 variation, looks fresher, this car also still will appeal to very many people because of these beautiful taillights here. We have a Sky Active badge, 0 to 60 motoring badge to tell you those are your trusted car consultants. We have a CX5 and of course all-wheel drive here to tell you that in this car, power is distributed to all wheels. You have these 19-inch alloy rims which look very good, and generally this is a beautiful looking car when it is in this maroon red color. So this is a very beautiful car to look at when especially in this maroon red color. I don't know whether it's maroon red or sol red, but generally it's a stunning car to look at. But then you have to be very cautious when you are purchasing these colors. These are Mazda colors, because while they look very beautiful, in case you get a scratch and you try to repaint the panel or bumper, sometimes you may not achieve the right color code. So when we were looking at the specifications that the client gave us, those features she wanted could easily be found with the CX5 diesel. But then when we consider her commute, this is someone who normally covers around 20 kilometers per week, and that is over the weekend because she works from home. So when we look at the diesel variation, most probably she could suffer from a DPF clogging issues. When we recommended something to do with a DPF delete, she said that she wants her car to remain as stock as possible. So the diesel variation actually was easily chopped off from the lineup because she wanted something that she can live with without any kind of modification, because this is someone who likes their car stock. Because even for this car, it is just like it came from Japan. There is no tint even on these front windows or even on these windscreen. So she's someone who doesn't like modification. So when you mention something to do with a DPF delete or a junction cooler bypass, she actually didn't want to hear any of those. Actually, that is how we eliminated the diesel variation from the list. So why did she pick a Mazda CX-5 2.5 liter over the 2-liter variation? When you look at this generation and you look at the 2-liter variations, in the inside, they mostly come with a fabric seats. Majority of them don't come with a Bose sound system. So in most cases, it comes off like an entry level or a base model. So that is one of the main reasons why she did not consider the 2-liter variation. Of course, we explained that there is a difference in terms of fuel consumption because there is a half a liter or a 500 cc when it comes to the engine displacement. But she said that she can compromise on that as long as she gets something that is beautiful in the interior. So in the interior, the car is still intact 1 year down the line, apart from this hook here, which is a very big virus or very big problem. Most Mazda CX-5 owners will tell you that this hook here normally has a problem of getting spoiled a few days or a few months after purchase. Another reason why she considered that these are 2.5 liter CX-5 ahead of the 2-liter variation is because of the all-wheel drive aspect. Majority of the 2-liter variations will be coming as a 2-wheel drive cars. That is a front-wheel drive car. But this specific variation, of course, has an all-wheel drive system, which means that should the going get tough or should you want to go off-road once in a while, the car should be able to do that job. Of course, when I compare the all-wheel drive system of this CX-5, it is not as good as something like the Subaru Outback or the Subaru Forester, but it can still get the job done. Unless you are into extreme off-road scenarios, this all-wheel drive system should still do the job. It should still make you get to your destinations without any big problem if it is a passable road. So when you compare the driving experience of this 2.5 liter versus the diesel variation, of course, this one doesn't have a high torque like the diesel one. Because in this CX-5 2.5 liter petrol, you are looking at 250 Newton meters of torque and around 185 horsepower. So it is still decently powered for day-to-day running, but it doesn't have that push or thrill that you'll get from the diesel variation. But when these cars are accelerated to some speed, you can't really tell the difference between this and the diesel variation, because this one actually has a better high-end speed when you compare to the diesel. The diesel variation, because we have a 2.2 turbo diesel as our support car, it normally flattens out at top speeds, and that is where the Subarus normally give it a massive run for its money. So this car is still as fast as the diesel, but it may not tag along that thrill or that push you normally expect when maybe you want to make an overtaking move. Of course, it has this sports mode down here, and what normally happens when you engage at the sports mode, the car keeps high RPMs to give you that overtaking punch. It is normally ready to give you that overtaking push. That is the function of the sports mode. Of course, it normally takes a toll on your fuel consumption. And now when you compare the 2.5 liter versus the 2-liter variation, of course, the difference is like a day and night. It is white and black, crystal clear. This one is a better car in terms of drivability, because the 2-liter variation, of course, has sports mode, but the engine sounds too busy or too loud without any meaningful performance, especially when the car is loaded. So regarding what has gone wrong over the last 1 year with this 2.5 liter petrol here, the 2.5 liter petrol engine is a very robust engine. It has nothing that can go wrong. In this car, what has been changed away from the oil changes and the normal servicing are the spark plugs and the brake pads on the front wheels. So technically, over the last 1 year, we can say that this car has just needed less than 30,000, because the original spark plugs will be around 19,000 and the brake pads will be around 7,000. So nothing has gone wrong with this 2.5 liter petrol engine here in terms of reliability. And for Mazda cars generally, you know that they come with a 6-speed automatic transmission. That is a robust or a hardy transmission that hardly breaks down. So if you wanted to purchase a CX5 petrol, you can trust the engine to do the job, and even the transmission, it's a very robust. The battery is still the same one that the car came with from Japan. It is still in a good health, so it's supporting I-stop. One big problem you're going to encounter with very many Mazdas is that the batteries normally fail less than a year since purchase because of the I-stop thing. So in most cases, you'll find that majority of the owners of CX5s have already done some battery swaps. Majority will be running on Amaron or something like Bosch, something that normally supports the I-stop system of the car. So while this one has not given a warning, I'm pretty sure the lifespan may not be as long, but I think it's because this car is not used that much to accumulate more kilometers, or it doesn't find itself in that heavy traffic where I-stop normally works. So I think that is why the battery here still has some good life left with it. Three, two, one, go. That's a 60, 80, that's 100, that's 120, that's 140. So when you look at that acceleration from a standstill and considering that the environment was not that favorable, it is a car that can actually sprint. Of course, the torque numbers are not that good, but it should be faster it should be a fast car for the average person. Because I'm now sitting at this is 110 kilometers per hour, and the car doesn't really struggle. You actually don't need to engage at this sports mode for the car to get to those decent speeds. And another thing you have to give to Mazda is that the handling is so good, because you relatively take corners in a very simple manner, and I like the steering feedback I'm getting from this car. On the highway, the handling is decent, and the suspension, of course, is not the best in terms of absorbing vibrations and road imperfections. But at the budget of the CX5, I don't think that anyone is going to expect getting a GLE like a comforter from this car. Of course, the biggest problem with the CX5, just like the diesel variation, is that the braking system is not one of the best. So if you are used to driving a Subaru and you hop into a CX5 just like me, you'll have to maintain a safe distance between you and the car in front of you, because it is actually very poor in terms of braking capability. One thing I like about Mazda cars generally these days, when many suppliers or when automakers are building a CVT transmissions, is that Mazda has stick to the original or a conventional 6-speed automatic transmission, which actually gives you some thrilling in terms of drivability. I don't have a problem gunning this car, because I know it is not going to compromise on the longevity of this transmission. So if you are a long distance traveler, or you like a car that can give you decent speeds, and you don't want to get into the diesel variation, then I think you can live well with this 2.5 liter Mazda CX5, as long as you are willing to pay for your sins at the gas station. Because if you drive this car enthusiastically, I think you can see 10 kilometers per liter. So choices have consequences. These are Mazda CX5 2.5 liter, just like any other car, also has its problems or its disadvantages. The main disadvantage you are going to face if you buy a 2.5 liter instead of the diesel or the 2 liter variation is that the fuel consumption of this car is the highest in the Mazda CX5 family. It gives you like a 10 point something kilometers per liter, especially when you drive it under sports mode. Because last year when I delivered this car from Mombasa, my average fuel number was 10.8 kilometers per liter. A diesel will give you 14 kilometers per liter, and the 2 liter petrol can actually give you 12 point something kilometers per liter. So that is the biggest problem for these 2.5 liter CX5 Mazda. So another problem with the CX5 is going to come in form of the boot space. The boot space is one of the smallest in the class, so you should learn that, before you place your money on the CX5. So in terms of space, that is the biggest challenge you're going to have with the CX5 when you compare it to other cars in this segment. The rear legroom and the trunk space are one of the worst in the class. So you can't really go wrong with the CX5 petrol. But there is this question I know very many people want me to answer. Should I consider 2.2 diesel or a 2.5 liter CX5? Now, I'm going to repeat my sentiments I made last year when I was reviewing the 2-liter petrol variation. If I'm to purchase a CX5 and I'm torn between the diesel and the petrol variations, Monday to Saturday and twice on Sundays, my money is going to be on the diesel variation. That is because that car has a good power and most importantly, 14 kilometers per liter. Those are class leading fuel numbers. So my choice will always be a diesel, a CX5, ahead of a diesel 2.5 liter or even ahead of the 2 liter. But then going forward to the KF variation, the CX5 is now coming with a 2.5 liter turbo petrol that is a climaxing at around 250 horsepower. But still, I feel like the 2.2 turbo diesel will be the best in my case because I like traveling. Some months ago, I reviewed a CX8 with that 2.5 liter turbo petrol, and I liked that car. It's a very sweet engine. So in the near future, I'm also going to bring a review of the CX5 with that 2.5 liter turbo petrol. So when I get to review it extensively, I'm pretty sure I'm going to give you my best pick of the range of from the 2 liter, 2.5 non-turbo, 2.5 turbo, and of course the 2.2 turbo diesel. But as things stand, my choice will always be a diesel variation. So when you go into the Kenyan market to purchase a CX5, this generation or the KE series, you will have to purchase it as a local used car because in our Kenyan market, we normally buy cars that are 8 years or younger. So that means that we are only purchasing 2018 cars or newer if you are looking at foreign used units. So you will have to purchase this car as a locally used unit. So while this is a 9-year-old car, I know this review is also going to be helpful for my followers from Tanzania, Zambia, Uganda, and Malawi, because for them, their limitations are not as strict as the Kenyan ones when it comes to the age of importing a car. It is possible that you can import such a car from Japan with all these features. So while this car may be reliable, the experience you're going to get from this car will also depend on how the previous owner has taken care of that car. Because I've seen very many reliable cars that normally give buyers problems because the previous owner did not give the car the right care it deserves. Another challenge that you're going to get with if you want to purchase this CX5 petrol is that the supply of these 2.5 liter is very limited because these cars were more expensive than the diesel and the 2 liter variations. So they did not really appeal to the majority of the buyers. So if you hit the search engines and you are looking for a CX5 petrol 2.5 liter, you may not find many of them in the market. Another challenge you are going to have if you want to source a locally used 2.5 liter petrol CX5 is that you will hardly find them being all-wheel drive. Majority of them, if you find one in the market, it is going to be a front-wheel drive car. So that is how the review of this car looks like 1 year down the line. If you want a car advice, check out our social media platforms. And most importantly, if you want to purchase a car, we can source a clean car for you under our car scouting program. Alright guys, bye for now. I'll see you on the next one, 0 to 60 motoring.